Hey everybody, thanks for being here with me today, and thank you Trav for giving me the privilege of getting to talk about one of the biggest innovations in society since the internet in the late 90s. Since June of last year, I have been extremely active in the crypto community. This is the community that grew Bitcoin, which recently has become one of the most sensationalized technologies of the 21st century. Today I'm going to give you all my perspective. I would consider myself an insider at this point on the crypto space. I'm going to talk about how I came to get involved and how, as I continue to meet people in the space, my opinion on this technology grew and blossomed. I'm going to give a brief understanding of how distributed ledger technology can really change the world. I'm going to wrap up by giving my recommendations on how to be active in this space and how traveling can be beneficial for this, or working and traveling. And after all this, I'll be taking some questions. So let's start. Who am I? I'm Edward Sturm. Right now, I'm the Director of Marketing and a founding member of World of Ether, an Ethereum blockchain-based game which has become pretty anticipated. I'm also an organizer of what's recognized as the largest Ethereum meetup in the world. But before this in June, I had no accolades in this space. I had only been reading about it, and I didn't even really understand it. I just quit my job. I knew I was talented enough and worked hard enough to do a project of my own, but I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. And a close friend of mine, Alan Goldman, who's now the co-founder and the game architect of World of Ether, came to me and told me that I should do a project in this space with his friend Ram. And the three of us met, and I was made to understand how I could get involved at a ground level with one of the most cutting-edge technologies the world is seeing. And so we got started. And actually, our first project was somewhat in the travel space. It was a protocol in which ticketing would live on the Ethereum blockchain, and that would make ticketing in all industries greatly more efficient. And I began reading every reputable white paper I could get my hands on. That's what we have in crypto. We have these things called white papers. And I began reading as many of them as I could and going to different meetups every night, and then throwing events and meetups of my own until meetup.com listed us as the largest Ethereum meetup in the world. And my understanding of distributed ledger technology grew. So now what's interesting is at first I thought I didn't understand this technology, and how many people have heard of like crypto or Bitcoin or, okay, so everybody, but how many of them like understand it? All right, yeah, okay, there we go, a little from that guy. And even like most people trying to learn about it, they don't really feel like they get it. It's the case for many people just beginning in the space. But that's also because this technology relies heavily on cryptography, which can be difficult to understand. And these white papers, the less reputable ones, can be written more for salesmanship than comprehension, which makes them less easy to understand. But the thing is, distributed ledger technology in its most basic form, it's actually it's basic. It's pretty simple, and it's this basic concept that has so many people so excited. So okay, imagine this with me. Imagine a giant Excel spreadsheet. If people here are more familiar with Google Sheets, imagine that. We have a giant spreadsheet. And imagine that this spreadsheet was for something really important. So we'll do energy ownership and transfer as an example. This is a big topic. And imagine that this spreadsheet was automatically recording this energy ownership and transfer data in all of its cells. All of its cells automatically recording this important data. And now imagine that the spreadsheet was open for everybody to see. And all the data in all the cells was immutable and it could not be changed after the fact. And it's this concept, this idea of ensuring transparency that has people so excited. It will improve government, It will improve private companies and it will improve public companies. It will make processes and ownership less expensive and less time consuming all around and remove many middlemen across many different verticals. While this principle of immutable transparency is basic, the consequences are so profound and so unlike anything we've seen that it can be difficult to fathom. And not only do we have this source of ownership which can't be changed, but with an aspect of this technology called smart contracts, processes can execute on their own and we can trust that there are no corrupt third parties involved. So an example of this in travel could be an identity that lives on blockchain, which can be used as a digital pass between all sorts of transportation. Planes, trains, boats, buses, you name it. Imagine that, just using the same pass for everything. So back to my story, we ended up pivoting our idea. In December, we started building World of Ether. By this point, I felt that I had a pretty solid base understanding of the crypto space. We launched our World of Ether pre-sale in mid-January, and it succeeded all of our expectations. We were doing like $500,000 of profit in our first 2 days, and it really was incredible. And very soon, we're going to be releasing our full game, our full decentralized application on the Ethereum mainnet in a few weeks, very soon. And we're very, very excited for this. So what's crazy though is, we had this success and we made something that's been like pretty highly recognized, but when I was getting started, it took me around my first 2 months to really understand this, and what it was is this space is just so new. Our game will be one of the very few functioning decentralized applications to actually exist, which is crazy. I'm sure, who here has heard of like an ICO or initial coin offering? All right, yeah, these guys. What, you've heard of it? All right, great, yeah. So there was this craze, or it's still going on, this ICO craze. And what's wild about this is that 99% of these projects that have raised all this money, they haven't yet been built. And that's because there's very few developers in this space right now because it's so new. The technology is too immature also to support millions of users while still being decentralized and public. And understanding this at an early